Hey everyone, it is still Saturday, November 4th, and I'm getting ready to start on my filet baby blanket that I've been working on. I haven't picked it up in a while. I'm on row 36 out of like 101, and I'm using Premier Basics DK in the color of Sage. It's a beautiful shade of green, and my 4mm clover. And this is what I have so far. You see the little dog? So it's 3 dogs across. You know, it's a small style baby blanket, but it's easy to adjust it to make it bigger. And of course you can use heavier weight yarn and instead of DK and a larger hook and end up with a much bigger blanket. But this is what I am planning on doing because I need to finish this so I can do that sweater. So this is a pattern that I written myself, and once it's completed and I can get pictures, not that I'm like the best photographer or anything, but once it's completed and I can get the pictures, then I'll have it listed up on Etsy. And when I do these, I offer 3 different ways that you can read the pattern. This just happens to be my preferred way because each block stands for whether it's a solid mesh crochet or an open mesh crochet. And then it tells me how many that I need to do of that color. So, and then thanks to Caroline, I have this colored highlighter tape, and I can move it. It just pulls right up and resticks. And I can move it to whichever row that I'm supposed to be on, which is row 36. And it makes it easier to just spot it, and then, you know, you can go back and forth. So that is what I'm working on, or preparing to work on. So the first thing that my pattern's telling me to do is 10 solid mesh, which means 20 double crochets. And the way I do this, I do not chain 3 when I get to the ends. Or to start a new row, I chain 2, and that counts as, you know, a double crochet for that row. But it like majorly helps with keeping your edges straight. I mean, see how nice and straight that is? It doesn't have the big gaping hole at the edge. Makes a big difference. So 7. Actually, that the chain 2 doesn't count as anything. It is not included in your stitch count. So like a solid mesh is 2 double crochets, and an open mesh is a chain 1 and a double, and that gives you your open mesh. You know what? I cannot count and talk at the same time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then the way that this pattern is, the 16, the open mesh makes the picture. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So like I just did my 10 solid mesh, which was 20 double crochets. So the next thing it tells me to do is 1 open, so I chain 1 and do a double crochet. And that gives me the open square. And then it is 5 solid, so that's 10 double crochets. This is the project that I need to finish because I want to make the Granny Pop sweater. And I don't have to buy any yarn to do it. I already have it. I'm going to use Bamboo Fair, which I actually have one on my cart here. I'm going to end up using this. Oh, it is so soft. It feels so good. It is, this one is rose, but it is 60% bamboo and 40% cotton. And it just feels like, it feels nice. It's just like it's luxurious. I really should have my compression gloves on, especially if I plan on spending any time on this. All right, so we finished row 36, moving right along. That took probably, with me stopping and talking, somewhere around 10, 11 minutes to do that row. But I did do a lot of stopping and talking. So I'm going to do a few more rows, then I'll check back in and show you where I'm at. Oh my gosh, you guys. In the time that it took me to pick up my gloves, put the camera in the tripod, I go to sit down and the other cat is in the chair and I almost sat on the poor thing. Scared the heck out of me. Oh my goodness. So, it is Sunday and I think I made pretty good progress yesterday. So I'm on my third skein of this yarn for this blanket. And unfortunately, I attached the wrong end, so it's pulling on the outside instead of from the center. So no yarn barf, but I have to constantly keep unwinding. So I made it to the halfway point. I finished row 50. And Nick, it's looking really good. You're gonna like this one. So this is kind of a small blanket. And it's one of those things where if you want to make it bigger, you use a heavier weight yarn and a larger hook. Or instead of each, mesh block being 2 stitches, you can always make it to where it is 3 stitches. So like a solid mesh would be 3 double crochets instead of 2. And that would make, like this is 150 stitches wide. That would put you at what, 225 stitches? So out of this yarn, like 1.5 size times the width. And then you would probably have to add an extra section to make it longer if you wanted to make it bigger. But it's very, easy to adjust the size. Then I discovered something else last night. Not only can I not talk and count at the same time, I can't watch anything interesting on TV either and count at the same time. I had to frog out a couple of rows because I got a little carried away and put my open meshes in the wrong spots and my little puppy wasn't quite looking right. So I had to frog out a few rows. I would be a little bit further along if I wouldn't have been like glued to the TV. But you know, such as life, things happen. And I'm going to turn the TV back on again just for background noise, basically. But, you know, something like this is probably best to, you know, maybe have an infomercial on, or the news if that's your thing. Maybe throw some other YouTube crocheting videos on, and you can crochet while the YouTuber is, you know, crocheting. But definitely nothing that's going to take your attention away from what you're doing, because you've got to be able to keep up with the counts. So my next row, I already did the easy one. My next row is still fairly easy. It is like every other stitch. In part of it is open, then solid, then open, then solid. And then 2 sections of it goes all open mesh, because I don't know if you noticed, I alternated the little borders around the puppies. Like that one is kind of like completely open, and this one, it's every other stitch. So I rotated it, or alternated it. So this next section above this one ends up looking like that, and the one above this will look like that one. Just, you know, I thought it would give it a little more added interest, but it just means I have to pay attention a little better. So, let's see. Starting off with 2 solids and then 23 opens. So 2 solids are and then it was so funny. I wouldn't say it was funny, but it was interesting. I was reading all the comments on the most recent temperature blanket update, and in that video I talked about, okay, it's time to get up and stretch and, you know, roll my neck, because my neck was getting stiff, and wiggle the fingers, stretch my legs and all that, which is super important to do. And we don't always remember to do that. But someone had commented that they had watched a video by Wonder Crochet where she was like showing helpful tools for crocheting, and one of the things was a boppy. And if you don't know what a boppy is, it's like a nursing pillow, you know, for breastfeeding. And it allows, because it's like wraps around you, it allows your elbows to be brought up, and it's going to, like, your hands are going to be more in front of your face instead of like you doing this all day. Which, don't you think that might be a huge help for posture? I feel like I walk around permanently like this because I'm constantly looking down. Between my regular work and all my crocheting, I feel like my head is always like this. So I am going to get myself one of those. And maybe not the actual boppy, because it is like a ton more expensive than some of the others when I was looking on Amazon. But I don't know. I might just bite the bullet and get the real thing. That way I know it's right. I'll have to look again. But if that would help with the tension in the neck and right between the shoulder blades, that would be just great. Just absolutely fantastic. See, I'm talking and I skipped one too many stitches there. Good thing I caught it now instead of having to frog out the whole row. Okay, so that's what I got done while I was just sitting here rambling. And did I mess up? I did. I have to pull that whole thing out. My last one that I was working on was the little kitty cats. And I had a few instances where I had to pull out 3 or 4 rows, because it's not one of those things where if you put something in the wrong place, you can just kind of like let it go and nobody will notice. But because you have the open meshes making the picture, everything needs to be in the right spot or it like really stands out. You guys, I just had to frog that row out again because, again, I'm talking. So what I just showed you was completely wrong after doing it twice. So I'm going to crochet and stop talking and hopefully make it through this first section of this row. But just so you know, it does happen. And this is not a hard pattern. It's just I am babbling away. Okay, so I finally made it through that row. I figured out what the problem was. It was on the previous row. Luckily, at the very end, like 5 or 6 stitches in, so it wasn't a major fiasco to fix. But that is the row. I made it all the way across. Now I'm on to row 52, which I think it's a fairly easy row. It is. Let me move my sticky tape so I can keep track of where I'm at. So this whole row is almost all solid mesh with just four open mesh through the whole row. So it's pretty easy to, like, this one you could almost talk and crochet at the same time. But it's a pretty simple one. It's not like some of these rows. See all the boxes? Like this one has 3. Some of them are pretty complicated. So now it's Saturday and I haven't hardly done anything all week. My market is 1 week away and I chose this past week to be a slacker. Oh boy, talk about timing. I just needed a break. So what I did do though was the Grinch face for everybody. And I worked on those 3 snowmen again because it just bothered me. I think I have it now. This is the first one. On this guy, I added a mouth. It helped a little bit. It doesn't look so much like a bird now. And I did an extra round on his hat. I'm debating on whether or not I should put the pom-pom on top. But I read all the comments and suggestions about these snowmen and took every one of them into consideration. That's the bigger one. And then there was this guy. I did not add to his hat, but what I did do, I left his little nose the same, or his big nose. I gave him a mouth, and then I added some arms to his sides. So I think the mouth made a big difference on his face, even though there wasn't a whole lot of room. But if I raised the nose up, it would be right between his eyes. So I didn't have a lot of space to work with. But I think that made him better. Then the last one. This one might still need a mouth, but I think he does look a little better. I know his top hat should have probably have been black, but black is so hard to work with. And these tiny little stitches, I just didn't feel like doing black. And I wanted it to match his scarf. So I still may add a little teeny tiny mouth, maybe like off to the side, because there's not a whole lot of space under here. And then I changed his nose. If any of you have done Club Crochet's Triceratops, and they do the little horns, they just chain 2 and then do a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. That's what I ended up doing for his nose to get it small enough to where it looked like it fit his face. So those 3 and the Grinch face were really like the only crocheting that I did this week since the previous update in this video on my filet blanket that I've been working on. I just needed I needed some space from the yarn. I just needed to just chill and do nothing. And that's pretty much what I did, except I made, let me open it up. I made my business cards. So that's what the front looks like. And then on the back, I got a QR code, and you can scan the QR code to find me on Instagram, YouTube, or Etsy, and then a thank you message. And also they get a couple of stickers that I got really inexpensive off of Amazon, like 300 stickers for $9.99. So they'll get a couple of stickers. Depending on the size, they might have 3 in the package, along with the business card. And I stuck it in a little, what do you call these? Plastic baggie. And that'll go in their bag. Or I'll just hand it to them if they don't request a bag. So I made those. I still have to print some more, but I did, oh my gosh, I probably tried 4 or 5 different designs on how to set it up, and with Jenna's input, we were able to get it to where I was happy with it, and it looked pretty good. I think it looks pretty good. And then I made little signs for my little baskets. So those are done. I did a double fold so that it'll go over the edge. And then I'll tape it down to the bottom of the basket to hold it in place. So those are all made. The only other thing besides printing off more cards that I need to make is my payment sign. I still need to price all my keychains. I still have my Christmas items that I need to get into the Square app. And I got an email, finally some communication. Finally some communication. It makes you wonder, you know, when you don't hear anything. But I signed up for this in July. So I was like really early, and I don't know if that's like normal for how far in advance you sign up for something, but I got an email yesterday. Well, I had emailed them asking, when do we find out? And the lady was very nice. She emailed me back and she said, normally they don't tell anybody until setup day, which is the Friday before. And I'm sure that's to keep people from You know, oh, I don't like that spot. I'd rather be over here. You know, it's like you show up that day and you get what you get type of thing. So in her emails, she said, since I was new and had never been there before, she was going to tell me tentatively, you know, because something could change, but she didn't anticipate any changes, that I was going to be in the second booth in from the main entrance next to the bake sale table. Like I need to be tempted with goodies all day long. I mean, oh boy, here we go. Which I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It will be against the wall. But when she said next to the bake sale table, that is where they give each vendor 2 tickets for water. So you get 2 bottles of water. And I won't have to go anywhere. I'll be right next door trading my ticket for some water. So all the vendors will be coming over that way. But how is that going to affect the customers? I don't know. I just like, I have all these thoughts going through my brain. And it's like, I got a week left and I'm almost starting to feel like it's almost panic time. But I'm not going to panic. Other than that, I'm almost ready. I had sent back the bags that I ordered because I'll say it again, I have this size perception deficit when it comes to reading the measurements when I order something, and it's never what I expect it to be. So when the bags got here, they were way too small. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I only have a week. Today's Saturday. So I went on Amazon and I ordered different bags, and it is what it is. When they get here, if I'm not happy, that's too bad. It's just going to be what I have to use. Because I kept putting it off. Oh, I have time. And then lo and behold, I don't have time. I also got in my power bank, and thank you, Nick, for showing me a good option. However, I did not get that exact one because it didn't say it was for my iPhone version. And I don't know anything about these things. I am not a techie person. So since I knew what I was looking for now, I looked for one that would fit my iPhone, or that it said that it worked with my iPhone. So I have that. For the most part, I think I'm ready. It's almost too late now. So I was going to work on my filet some more today, but I think I'll put that on hold and get my other, Christmas plushies that I made put into the system and get the price tags on those and get them all packed up and ready to go. I mean, most of my stuff most of it is done. And I also need to do the pricing on my keychains. And then I'll call it quits for the day. All right, you guys, thanks for hanging out with me and for all the encouragement everybody has been giving me and all the suggestions everybody gave me about my little snowman. And I will see you over here in the next video.